This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, truth seekers and true crime junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. I'd like to welcome to the show today Nolan Del Campo.
Good morning, everybody.
And Lindsay Mack.
Hello.
Good morning. All right. Well, I woke up to an onslaught of messages from friends today. I really honestly didn't even know we had started bombing Iran or that we had started any type of issues. I mean, I was still in shock over the kidnapping of the president of Venezuela. And then we hear that they have killed Iran's leader and we're having these power struggles again. And now I think what they said was his son, Israel or Iran's son, the leader's son is now in charge. Is that correct? Nolan, yes. Are you up to date? Yes. Okay. So one of the conversations I was having with my assistant, and one of these days I'm going to get her on here because it's quite comical to listen to us address these issues. But I had mentioned to her that in my research through the Zodiac cases and looking at all of these different established crisis situations that have been created by the U.S. to make it look like we were being attacked so that we could go to war with other people, I had explained to her that we had these gentleman rules of on the battlegrounds, basically. And this goes all the way back to, our early wars, even, between the South and the North here in the United States, where they literally had rules of people you could attack and people you couldn't attack in the military, so that they could efficiently be led to continue the war. When I've always thought, well, take out the guy leading, then they'll be lost. The war will be over, right? Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it was Kennedy.
What's that?
That's what they did with Kennedy. That's how they won that war.
Yeah, they took out the leader. And look, we kidnapped a president. That didn't end that issue, right? It just created a bigger one. Now we go and we take out Iran's leader. That didn't stop it. That created an even bigger one. And now people are retaliating. So one of the pieces of information that came up in my phone, and maybe it's because they heard I said this, I don't know, but it basically says it also highlights Hegseth's vow during a recent news conference that there would be no stupid rules of engagement in the war, and asks if the defense secretary had complied with rules to prevent the commission of war crimes. The strike, if a U.S. rule was to be confirmed, would amount to one of its worst single case of civilian casualties in decades of U.S. conflicts in the Middle East. So that's them bombing this school, right?
Yeah.
So I think that it has been pretty much solidified that we initiated that attack on that school.
That's what it seems like, but I don't know. I still don't know.
I always like to dive a little bit deeper. To me, it seems as though if there was a strike to be had, that would have came from Israel, and they would have done it.
Yes, I think so.
On our behalf.
I think that's what it is. Yep.
So that led me to the next message that I received this morning from my good girlfriend. She's been my dentist for more than 30 years. She's even sponsored this podcast at one point in time. And it is a former Marine who fought in Iraq. And he is listing. So let's throw this PowerPoint presentation up because he had some numbers on here. And I want to briefly just describe what these numbers were. So you'll see this. Oh, there we go. We'll see right here in the center with this Marine who fought the Iraq War. And he's talking about our aid to Israel. So he's stating that we basically annually give them some exorbitant amount of money for military defense and aid. And just basically in 2025 to 2026, we've given them $3.8 billion in military aid. We've given them $500 million in missile defense, $8.7 billion in supplemental aid, and $5.2 billion for the Iron Dome. Does anybody know what the Iron Dome is? I know I'm going to sound stupid, but I'm not part of war. I stay away as much as
I
possible.
don't know what the Iron Dome is. I don't know.
Okay.
I hear about it all the time, but it's like I don't know what it is. So exactly to explain.
It's one of those secret things we'll never really know, right?
Yeah.
Well, maybe 40 years from now when it's all outed what this whole entire thing was about. And then I guess just randomly, Trump gave him another $4 billion. So a total of $22 billion in the last year to fight this war basically against Iran. And so he goes on to say that Israel was really one of the prime factors that we even engaged the Iraq war, because they basically sat there stating that they knew Saddam Hussein was avidly working on nuclear weapons and that he must be stopped at all costs. So we go in. Yeah, we go in and we take him out, and we have all of these different allied countries that assist with us, and he's showing the loss of the military personnel involved in these battles. And it turns out that he says not one IDF military member has been killed. So this in these wars that Israel keeps starting and creating, and we keep coming to their aid, they're not even there as an ally with us, and they suffer no losses.
And that coincides with the rise of organizations like Blackwater, private military forces. There's several others. There's British ones. Blackwater is the biggest.
And who is Blackwater?
They're a private military entity from the United States, and they contract with the Department of Defense to conduct war. They were a heavy presence in Iraq. The whole Fallujah thing, where they murdered some of the Blackwater guys, or killed them. It's war.
Right.
Yeah, and so Blackwater people are even gotten involved with ICE. They're here on American soil now.
That's crazy. It would be interesting to see who owns that company, but I dare say out loud.
A great book on it, and it's religious right people own it.
All right, so it says how Israel's dome defense system works. Missile explodes near rocket, destroying it. So basically, it's an anti-defense. So if somebody fires on them, they have an ability to take it out of the sky. So they call that the Iron Dome or the shield, which is the area in which they can knock other missiles out of the air, is what it looks like.
Yeah.
To me.
Like Reagan's Star Wars.
That's what I thought, but I didn't know how to explain it. But you did.
Right. That was you actually even gave me a picture. So I didn't have time to read all of that on there, but based on what I'm seeing, this is what it looks like, which I would have to assume. And I was having this debate with my assistant that we had also had this type of technology, and she was under the impression that no, we don't. And I'm like, no, that just can't be true.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. So
they gave it to us to use,
right. So the other thing that hit me with this text about us giving Israel all of this money to fight this war, to boost up their military, is that all of this destruction that we're actually carrying out is at some point in time going to have retribution, just like Hiroshima. Are we going to go back in and now suffer the tax-paying dollars of the American citizens? This should be doing us service. Our tax-paying dollars should be providing for our homeless, for our people who are low income with no food, should be providing for this, but we're now going to have to spend money, I'm sure, to rebuild this area. And it just absolutely disgusts me.
That's why they do it. Destroy and rebuild.
It's like 9/11 all over again.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we perpetrated that against ourselves, again, making it look like somebody else had done it. And that's the theme that we just keep seeming to follow. And in this particular clip where this Marine is talking about this, he refers to this war that we're having right now as Operation Epstein Fury. And I thought, what the Shrek? Like, come on,
a lot of people
really?
are saying it too. It's like very viral.
Well, and so I had to look that up. I had to Google, and hopefully AI is correct, right? Like if there's anything that we can count on now is this force-fed information into this robot that is putting it all together collectively for us, whether it's telling us the truth or not. This is the information I came up on. It says, based on search results up to March 2026, Project Epstein Fury, often referred in the context of Operation Epic Fury, and the surrounding Epstein document scandal, represents a chaotic intersection of a major military operation and a mounting political crisis for the administration of President Donald Trump. Here are the key aspects of this situation. Operation Epic Fury, military action. On March 1st, 2026, President Trump authorized Operation Epic Fury, a joint U.S.-Israel military campaign against Iran, targeting nuclear facilities, missile sites, and leadership. The campaign was presented as a move for peace through strength. The distraction narrative, the timing of this or similar action has been widely interpreted by critics, media commentators, and some supporters as a strategy to distract from the intense scrutiny regarding the release of Jeffrey Epstein-related files, with some calling it Operation Distraction from the Epstein files or using the anagram Forget Epstein. We know about the Epstein files scandal, the uncorroborated allegations. In March of 2026, the Justice Department released more files, which included uncorroborated accusations against Donald Trump, which the White House deemed completely baseless. Of course they did. Of course they did.
Oh, yeah.
Political fallout. The situation caused tension, with some supporters feeling betrayed and concerned about a cover-up. Some commentators described the MAGA movement as tearing itself apart over the handling of the files. In summary, Epstein Fury refers to the intense anger within a segment of Trump's base regarding the withheld Epstein documents. And now I've started seeing more pictures come out with Donald Trump and young girls, gross, with his shirt off. One of them makes it look like the girl's got her arm around him, but I caution everybody about AI and the ability to make some of these
I was
pictures.
just about to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, see, because when I look at the picture, this little girl is standing to his right and her arm is purportedly all the way up and over, but the way the hand is actually positioned on his shoulder is not connected to the arm, and her poor little arm would have to been like 4 feet long for her to get all the way around Trump and over to the other side.
Yeah.
And that was just one of them that I had the time to view, and I thought, just be careful for yourself that you're not putting out there bad rhetoric. If there are legitimate pictures, then of course share that stuff, but make sure that they're legitimate pictures before passing them around.
Yeah, you
either way,
verify that stuff.
They need to go into the files themselves to verify.
Right, exactly. And I don't put anything past him, because I've already stated that I believe the Band-Aid Florida put on Epstein with his fake little arrest in 2006 was a stall tactic to allow Trump to come up with a way to get Epstein. Plausible deniability that he has anything to do with Epstein, when it is very clear that he was buddy, and you cannot be buddy with Epstein without knowing what he's involved with. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to hear from any of these people. We just worked with him.
Being the friend, even without being his friend, he knew of him and was around him because of others and his, business. That he still would know, even if he wasn't his friend personally.
Right. And gossip doesn't just happen at the lower level of society. I'm sorry. There was words that were said that anybody who was associated with Epstein would know exactly what he was involved with and into. So that's that rant on the Epstein. But then that took me into a little bit more research where I wanted to find out, does Iran even have nuclear weapons? I did not know if it were true. This is what AI says. As of March 2026, Iran is not known to possess operational nuclear weapons, but it has developed significant uranium enrichment capabilities that place it on the brink of potential nuclear weapon production. While holding enough 60% enriched material for multiple weapons, intelligence suggests it has not taken the final step to build a bomb. And here's why. The enrichment level is at 60%, which is close to the 90%. I don't see that as close. That's only 2/3 of the way there. That's not close. Close would be like 98% there. But they need 90% in order to make a nuclear weapon. So are they that close? I really don't see that they are. So that whole excuse back over here on the distraction narrative is that they're going to, attack with nuclear weapons, or we're attacking their nuclear facilities, really doesn't hold any water. And that's AI based.
Right.
Well, and don't you remember last year whenever we sent these bombs to bomb these certain places over there? to make sure they didn't have any nuclear weapons. So, but it was done in a strategic way to not cause much destruction or cause any harm to any persons that may have been in the areas. Like, do y'all remember that? That was all because of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk went to Trump and was like, please don't go to war over there. And so he agreed to just bomb nuclear facilities.
Well, and that's what brings me back to this.
So why do we even need this? Is what I'm saying.
We don't, because they don't have the capabilities that they're claiming that they have, or the reason why we're bombing these areas. And the fact that we bombed a school was no mistake. Make that clear. It was no mistake. This is what initiated what is going on right now. And whether or not we actively did it, I love that the media is playing it off like, well, we haven't confirmed that the U.S. is responsible. Well, if the U.S. is responsible via the Israel route, then the U.S. is responsible. And this whole entire chaos is just absolutely asinine and is going to do nothing but cost us money and lives. Because as indicated by this Marine, IDF soldiers are never the casualties. They're well protected inside their little iron dome in their bubble. Boy, I'm disgusted. Anyways, all right, that was
it's Operation Chaos.
No, there was no need for this war.
No. And they likened it. You know what is interesting is that it's been likened to World War II, which we know again was a way to get the rich Jews out, while genocide and the lower level of society Jews were all persecuted and burnt and enslaved and in camps. And we actually had parts in that. We had our own camp there. We were supporting with businesses that provided wood and coal and steel and things for this particular war, while we claimed we were help fighting them. It's disgusting that it's much bigger than we can imagine, a game than we even know. And the chess game is starting to play out in a way that it's starting to show the reality of how we end up in these type of involvements.
And they didn't really think it through either about the what's this gonna lead to? Well, one thing it's gonna lead to is a lot of Islamic people hating the United States forever and declaring jihad and maybe terrorism here in the States and all over Europe and different bases in the Middle East.
Well, that's what it did after 9/11.
And so there's so many other things like the Strait of Hormuz. The oil, about 1/5 of the world's oil is not being shipped out because 1/5 of the world's oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz. And that's shut down because the Iranians have the capability to do that.
And it's misplaced anger.
They don't have intercontinental ballistic missiles to attack the United States. They have to attack what's in the region.
Exactly. And it's misplaced anger if these people want to, what'd you say, jihad, if they want to commit jihad on American citizens or anybody who wasn't responsible for pushing that button or making that decision. It's no different than us rioting in the BLM matters when we didn't create this, but you're going to hurt us American citizens over it. It's absolutely disgusting.
It is. Innocent people are getting killed and harmed because of the whims of a dictator.
And here I thought this was a religious war. I'm obviously completely out of the loop. I think Israel just wants to control Iran.
They do.
Israel and the United States both.
Yep.
But what do they really have there that we want?
Their oil.
Uranium, oil.
Oh, okay. So it does take us back to the resources.
Other natural resources.
They're going to end up with those resources anyways. Why not just go take them? Why not just go take them? We have the power.
And we're insisting on
exactly
full surrender, unconditional surrender. So in other words, we're not even negotiating.
I think the United States wants the resources, and Israel wants the land,
the power. That makes sense.
They want the land. They want their land too.
Yeah, this is another one of those not our war type things, but we're going to suffer and pay for it. And I'm completely disgusted by that.
And then we voted. I don't know if y'all voted 3 times, but I voted 3 times for that man.
For
Trump.
Trump? I voted for Trump, but I voted for the Republican Party, and Trump was a byproduct of that. I think that his reentry into office this second round was for exactly this purpose that we're seeing right now. Number one, to offset the Epstein files, which would demolish most of the government officials, I believe. Not one person still has been arrested for any of these acts. I think that it was also
Prince Andrew, and that wasn't even an American decision. That was over there.
Right.
The powerful.
For the record, I voted against Trump every single time. Not necessarily for the person running against him, but against him.
Yeah.
So I thought this was interesting because this was the response after this text message about this Marine from my girlfriend. She says, I hope they don't strike on our shores. This is so freaking unnecessary. All Izzy's fault. She's calling Israel Izzy.
Oh, that's a good one.
She says, we are enslaved by them. I wish everyone would be brave enough to boycott them in masse. 100%.
It's getting there.
Israel is like the Frankenstein monster, and we're like Dr. Frankenstein. We gave them the power to wreak havoc in the region. All that money that you just showed that goes to them, that was just in 1 year. But
yes, done 1 year. Why? Why are we
years.
Defending somebody who never defends us, who is never our ally in any war? What's
they're
that?
Our enforcer, the Scorpion's tail. They're our enforcer. They're our mafia
in that land,
in the region.
Gotcha.
And they're ruled by white people.
Oh dear Lord.
Not brown people.
Exactly.
The whole region is brown.
Right.
It is.
Well, so was supposed to be World War II, right? Like, come on.
And it is a religious war as well as at the same time.
Well,
Right.
sure, if they want control.
Too, yes.
Yeah. Well, we are back on Jack now.
I hate
on
religion,
August.
personally.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I can't imagine that any god of any sort, of any denomination or any different culture would want this if they truly believed in God. So I've had enough of that mess. August 18th,
19... God, there's not 10,000 gods. So, I mean, as long as you love that one God and love people, then that's all
you're
need.
good.
We don't need anything else.
And we don't need to tell you who your God can be. Let it be whoever you want it to be, as long as you're a good person.
Yeah.
All right. So back to Jack. August 18th, 1998. We're still showing them at 3350 Auburn Boulevard. The reason why I keep mentioning that they are still here at this address is we're going to see some heavy movement here shortly. And this is actually some medications for Nora, and we see Jack's handwriting on it. So I wonder at this point if Nora has already lost her eyesight, and that's why we see Jack doing everything, and that we saw in 1997 was our last written words from Nora. May also have some play, I think, as well into her dating of the journal. And I'm sure that her memory, if you're losing your eyesight, you're losing your leg, you're losing, body parts, your brain cannot be operating maximally. So we do see that he's handling this and telling her how many she's supposed to take per day. And of course, Dennis had told me that that Nora was afraid Jack was trying to kill her, and she refused to take her medication. So when Jack would bring it in, she'd tongue it. And then once he walked out, she'd spit it out and toss it under the bed. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Another one of the doctors for Dr. Markoff we see here. This is in regards to Nora once again. Let's see if I have any. Yeah, this is for Nora Terrence. So this is her doctor information. And we see that Jack is writing on this one of the addresses for her doctor, Lawrence Ellison, and he writes building. And the reason why I brought that up is because you're either a person who uses the word building in an address sequence or you're not. Lawrence Ellison would have sufficed. Care of Dr. whomever, and then the address, right? And the reason I bring that up is because in Black Dahlia, we see the use of the word building, and it's actually tangled in with the street address. So it starts out Herald Express, one line, building, second line, then begins 1243, and the next line is Trenton Street. So he's intermingled not only the use of the word building, but the actual address is kind of a run-on sentence there. When I got into the Dear Draft Board letters, we see pretty much exactly the same thing. Chimes Building, rooms 1020. So rooms 1020 should have been followed after 500 South Salina Street, not tangled in once again with the name of the building, with the word building in there. And of course, when we get back into the 9/11 attacks, we see the word building one more time after the Hart Senate office. The next line starts building above the city and state. And when I compared that word building with the word building in Black Dahlia, we found that not only did he do it in all caps, pretty much very similar to the 9/11 attacks, but we also saw this interesting break and differential spacing between the last 4 letters of the word, which was consistent with Black Dahlia as well. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so these are interpersonal human habits, and filling out an envelope is also another one of those things that we will all do a little bit differently. In graphology, I learned some people will actually put the address to the left instead of dead center of the envelope. They will put it to the right, or they will, do these strange, combinations like we see building and then the beginning of the street address, and how that works in either one of these. So
I put mine in the center.
Yes.
And address too.
Yeah, and that's the proper way to do it. But as human nature will deviate in different ways. When they do deviate, that makes it extremely significant as far as a connection is concerned.
Yep.
So on
Belli letter, it just seems odd the way that it's written. The
What's
frame
that?
is abbreviated. The Belli, the MTGY, that stands for Montgomery Street. But it
right,
just says
and
MTGY. Yeah, that's kind of weird.
I didn't. I failed to bring that up, but yes,
Fran,
the shortening.
There's no period after Fran, or not the Cisco.
No punctuation to indicate it.
Yeah.
And normally you'd put CA, capital CA, but he put Calla.
Well, but Jack, for whatever reason, was never really good. Even when I go through his own personal communications, he was never good at the acronym for the states. So he always spelled out the first 3 to 4 or 5 letters, such as Caliph, when he wrote an address.
I didn't even know that they would mail something that was spelled like that.
Right.
Well, it's enough. It's enough to determine its location. So Washington, he might put something like WASH, right? Like he always either spelled it completely out because he never knew the proper acronym, I believe.
Okay.
Which is weird. He had the internet.
On the Belli, it says Mr. Melvin Belli. Why not just Melvin Belli?
I think because there was some connection there.
Yeah,
I think Belli is in this group, and he's showing a form of respect to Belli by calling him Mr. and addressing things properly to him when he fails to address the rest of the address properly. So that you got to go into that psychology of giving him the respect versus the rest of that information.
I don't trust Belli as far as you can throw him.
No. Should I guess his cultural background?
He's Italian, I think.
Well, the Italian
mafia.
Right.
No, there's no coincidence that he was Jack Ruby's lawyer.
Right.
No.
None whatsoever. So we see some checks here where in December 3rd of 1998, again, they are still on Auburn Way. So we're clocking them right on in. We do have these. I had some of his. When he keeps specific things, because he didn't keep everything. If Jack kept everything, I would not hold so much into the items that he had kept because it would have been everything. But Jack specifically kept very strategic things in my mind. And we're going to get to that here in a second, because one of them I think is extremely strategic. But this supports that Jack and Nora were still in California. It does say here on the 18th that GED Charles 8 a.m., which I thought was a little strange because we know that they left him in 1997 back in California with Dennis and Joy in order to finish his GED. So either he didn't finish it while he was here in California and had to come back when he came back to they've been back for a few months at this point, but is showing that he's again attempting his GED on the 18th. I thought this one was interesting simply because it says bought a carton of cigarettes. Who marks that on their calendar?
Yeah. I was just
I
thinking
mean,
that.
either he thinks
like,
somebody's
unless he hasn't smoked in a really long time and he's like admitting to something that he quit long ago and just to remind him later to stop. I mean, that's the only
right.
thing I could think of.
Right. Or I thought it was funny. He needed to remember when he bought them because maybe he thinks somebody's stealing them from him.
Yeah.
So he wanted to track how many packs there were and
That
when it
could
should
be.
play out. I
Because
don't
they
know.
used to pick up cigarettes all the time at crime scenes. And
What would that have
identify
to do with him marking his calendar about when he bought it? I just thought it was interesting. Nobody marks that on their calendar unless there's a reason to track it. It may very well be what
he
you said.
obviously-
He fell
Yeah.
off the wagon and he writes that down. But things are very stressful with Nora right now, so I can completely understand if he started smoking again.
Yeah.
Also, I see here that these numbers have been listed, and again, he did not keep. Well, he did not. No, I think I have this entire calendar. It looks like I did based on the scan. So I was pulling things out of it that I thought was interesting. One of the things that I was noting on here was some of the different letter A formations that he used, because I was under the impression that he basically had this more, let me see, go back to this. He had this more hard pressed A had this concaved top that was very angular. And then I started seeing things like in congratulations here. And in, let's see, where was this? Dr. Mayo, that A is done more like a curved number 2 versus the version that we just saw. And that curved number 2 version was used in the Zodiac letters. In fact, it was one of the plights Dennis had in a version of Robert Graysmith's book that came out, that Dennis then believed Robert Graysmith changed that look of that particular page because it had that bell top A, which in fact the FBI was making suspects right when they were doing investigations and interviewing people. So why were they asking for that bell top A if we can't find that bell top A today in any of those communications? It screams that the communications images have been changed for the purpose of not being able to come to a conclusion, even though I did. Oh, here it is. I did blow it up. So we had this A, which was Jack's attitude. I'm going to call it his attitude A from when he was working at Hewlett Packard and in the military. Again, we have that very angular top. And then, of course, we get over here where he has Nora and we start to see these rounded versions. Look at that one up there. So some of these are very consistent with some of the other letters, and I'm going to need to go back and actually compare those to the letters that are not associated to the Zodiac, but I believe part of a collection that the Zodiac wrote. So that would be something like...
The numbers look very similar to the Zodiac.
Oh, yes. And I've plotted the numbers out. There is on every single level, Jack is a match in the handwriting, the diagrams, the way he puts together an envelope. Like it just goes on and on and on. And at some point, if it wasn't him, it would have stopped. At some point, I would have went, nope, he'd never done this, and now I have to exclude him. And that just did not happen. Ooh, I lost my headset. All right, so February 23rd of 1999, Nora dies and Jack uses the 3350 Auburn Boulevard in the death certificate.
33.
So we know he's 33. I don't know what that means.
Freemason.
But this is his address. He didn't have a choice over this. Nora was due to be released November 15th, 1999. So basically she's in the hospital in February and she had her leg amputated due to infection and diabetes. She was not on oxygen or any respiratory machines, yet she was found in a coma on the floor of her hospital room suffering an anoxic brain injury caused by the oxygen somehow being cut off from her brain. So Dennis has been banned from the hospital this time. He's talking about
an aneurysm. Is that what you mean? Aneurysm?
No, anoxic brain injury.
I haven't heard that when I used to work for a neurosurgeon. Huh.
I don't know either. I don't know where I even got that information. I must have picked it up somewhere. I will have to check it now that you call me out on it.
Well, I did. Usually I do like so many diagnoses of the brain because I've worked there for 10 years under a neurosurgeon. So it's like
you sound like you went underwater.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, you just sound like you went underwater. You were very clear before, and now I get kind of
know.
this hollow, I'm in the bathroom feel.
Oh, yeah. Not in the bathroom, but
Not in the
yeah,
bathroom.
I used to work for a neurosurgeon for 10 years, and that term.
You've never heard of it?
Term,
Okay, well,
yeah.
that's something we can check. No time to waste. But this was in Jack's book. He says, Dennis's book. Jack almost pulled this off, but things didn't go as they were planned. Jack planned on my mother meeting death the day she went into a coma. Now Jack was faced with the possibility of mom coming out of the coma, and then she could let someone know what he did. Jack was able to carry out his murder, but made a fatal mistake in the process. Jack brought suspicion upon himself by his desperate attempts to overcome the unexpected. He only left suspicion in one person, and this person is the last person you want to double cross. That one person is me. So basically, while Dennis's mom is suffering in the hospital, all of a sudden Dennis tries to come and visit her, and he's being blocked by the security guards. He's being told he can't go in, that a bomb threat was called in, and they stated that it was Dennis that did it. Now,
Wow.
he is blaming Jack.
Right.
He is blaming Jack for this actual act because he knows he didn't call in any type of a bomb scare, but he is now being prevented from seeing his mom. And of course, he was not able to be there with his mom when she passed. He was evicted basically from the hospital and not allowed to come back. And his perception is that when she went into this coma, that it was likely something that Jack had done to her that caused it, because she wasn't having any respiratory issues. And subsequently, when she went into that coma, if there was a fear that Jack had she was going to come out of it, she is now one leg down, basically blind as the information goes, and basically going to be a complete burden on Jack, which we see Jack didn't even really like her the year previous when he's going through congestive heart failure. So he does whatever he can to get Dennis blocked and banned from the hospital, and Dennis believes that he cut off the oxygen to Nora, causing her death overall. Let's see.
Well, and that also shows like his control that he had, that he had that type of control that he could prevent someone from visiting their mother while they were dying.
Well, and check this out. So while Dennis was convinced that Jack had something to do with her death, and after finding out years later that Don, Jack's brother, was working as an orderly in the very same hospital, so it could have been Jack's brother that called in this bomb scare. I just thought, you got to be kidding me. Like, what are the chances? Dennis remembers Jack taking a shot with his knife at him at a storage shed, and Charles pulled the cocked knife from Jack's hand, which infuriated him. So I guess Jack was ready to spear Dennis with a knife, and Charles had to rip it out of his hand. But this was another one of those stories where there's no love for this family from Jack.
How often do you see bomb threats at hospitals?
You just don't. And
Exactly.
how did they identify who it was?
Unless he said, "This is Dennis."
Right.
Who would do that?
Well, and what
Nobody would do that.
What power have they given Jack to decide who it is or who it was?
It wasn't about a power given to Jack. They believed Jack was the one that perpetrated the call.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, but like they believed him. Like, how do you just believe?
No, if you call it a bomb, call in a bomb scare, and then what? Say I'm Dennis Kaufman, so that you get banned when you try to come in and see your mom. You're right. No one's right. Nobody would do that to themselves.
No.
Well, now we actually see on March 24th in 1999, we do have let's see, an unsolved murder of 35-year-old Victoria Dean Sunday Bruton. Now, of course, this is a good month after Nora has passed, and we know that Jack is on the run and he's moving around, and I'm going to show you how that works. But we do see that he's crossing Nora out, so that does mean that she is already passed. And this is on July 3rd of 1999. He's crossed out the address. That tells us he's no longer at Auburn Boulevard, but we don't know where he is collectively at this point. I can guess, but I'm going to assume it is probably back to Texas, and then we're going to see that he has actually moved back into Arizona. So I was under the impression that this particular expiration date of 2005 was when he was back. that his stay in Arizona had only been one stay during 93 to 90, whatever it was. And it actually turns out, or was that, yeah, it was in the 90s when he was in Arizona on Copley Drive. But now we see this phone book and it has his driver's license, which is an Arizona driver's license with an expiration date of 2005. So we are finding him back in Arizona at this point in time. It turns out that a relative actually owns Copley address, which Dennis has indicated and given some information in regards to that. And here is the actual storage shed where Jack stored his stuff in Arizona. So Jack moves back to Flagstaff, Arizona in his travel trailer that he parks on the property of Aunt Babe. We heard about Aunt Babe in Nora's diary. Though this check looks like a rent check to Betty Sterner for September 3rd of 1999, Jack left a storage shed full of stuff when he left Arizona and headed back to Dale, Texas in late of October 1999. This is a picture of the storage shed at 5388.
The copies of the check.
What's that? I lost her.
Where do you get the
where did I get the check?
They like random, and
you're cutting in and out, so I'm not getting you clearly. And I've lost her. Maybe I can explain this. All right, so it has the address 5388 Copley Drive, Flagstaff, Arizona. I can now.
Okay.
You're asking where I got the check?
Randomly. Yeah, I was just wondering if it was one of those things that they give them back to you. I know they used to give them back to you when I was like a kid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Yes, exactly. Okay. Jack is in possession of these and Jack chose to keep it for whatever reason. Again, he didn't keep every single check. So why does he keep these red herrings, as I call them? So this one actually lists the Copley address, and we can see by September 3rd of 1999, he is definitely in Flagstaff, Arizona. He's making a rent check to Betty Sterner, and this is the storage shed in Arizona where his items were kept. He has also added
picture taken of the shed, because it looks like it's not usable anymore. It looks pretty old.
I'm sure it's dilapidated, but out there in the country, you can store anything you want as long as you don't mind it being eaten up by rats and stuff, like whatever it is. I just know that this is where Dennis eventually went to pick up Jack's belongings in Arizona when Jack gave him permission to go get it. So
crazy.
We see that Charles has now been added to the account and they are in Arizona. Now, I also noted that these items, the green metal box and the Tupperware box that had things like the knife that Dennis believed was used in Black Dahlia, the dried out pilot razor pens we believe were used in the Zodiac communications, jewelry that may possibly have come from the hitchhiker murders, pre-cut cord or rope. Now, why this, I don't know why this was never taken from Dennis, because I think this could have been something that was directly compared to any number of these victims that were tied up or hogtied with this type of rope. But this is the type of rope that was found in the trunk of Jack's car. Let's see here. This looks like some keychains that happen to go back to Michigan and to Illinois. So again, we have more red herrings that are just kind of plodding around and placing. And these were precious enough for Jack to actually contain in a single set of boxes.
And that's very Zodiac-like to maintain mementos of his conquests and whatnot.
Exactly. And in the original letters having gone missing altogether means that we couldn't do a direct comparison of the ink, but this could have been tested by any means.
Yeah.
So the green metal box and Tupperware container where the rolls of film, knives, earrings, pilot felt tip pens, and other miscellaneous items were found in the storage shed in Flagstaff, Arizona. This is provided by Stephen Dewhurst's book here. And Dennis believed they were definitely memorabilia from the Zodiac crimes, or at least related crimes in the California area. Now, what got even more interesting, you guys, is the coincidence that the next set of unsolved murders on October 20th to the 26th of 1999. Now, I had played around with the date. I wasn't sure what it was, but here they're saying the cold case opened October 25th, which means that the murders must have taken place somewhere on or about the 24th to the 25th. And it is the murders of 45-year-old Michael Alexander, 44-year-old Richard Barnes, and 46-year-old Lynn Patrick in Belmont, Arizona. Now, I only captured this unsolved case because it was in Arizona, but I didn't know till this last week that when I looked it up, that it's 13 minutes from where Jack's staying.
Oh, wow.
There's nothing happening. No murders back here in California. But 13 minutes from where Jack is currently living is this triple homicide. So it was interesting because as I went through some of the information, I clipped out the cold case opened October 25th, 1999. The bodies of 3 victims were discovered in and around a trailer. That's up Jack's alley in the forest outside Belmont, a small unincorporated community near Flagstaff. No arrests were made, and the triple homicide has been labeled a cold case by the Coconino County Sheriff's Office. The area had been marked for logging, and once investigators cleared out the scene, many of the trees at the site were quickly cut down. So basically, they're saying they came in and bulldozed this area within a week of a crime scene. What?
That's wrong.
That's so wrong.
Definitely wrong.
Yeah. It's just like Martin Luther King in Memphis. Like within the next day, I think they cut down all these trees and bushes and shrubs that were a sniper could have hidden to shoot King. They were gone the next day.
Was that something that also happened in the JFK shooting, like the grassy knoll type stuff? Did they go and change? No,
all that stuff was still there.
Okay,
but they just diverted everyone's attention to the school book depository.
Yep.
And tried to deflect attention
because Oswald worked
behind
there.
the fence on the grassy knoll.
Right.
When everyone knows,
yeah,
even people run towards the fence after the shots fired. They saw smoke from a gunshot, and they sensed that it came from there. Just the way it, the bullet hit his head and the way his head
reacted. Right. But, well, it says that part of the forest where the victims were camping, they were going to harvest the wood out of there, and lumber companies could come in there and cut those trees down, Jones said. Within a week, all the trees that were around the trailer were gone. His theory involves the perpetrator or perpetrators wounding Alexander, killing Patrick and Barnes, leaving the scene, and then returning to kill Alexander and shoot the other 2 victims again, who were already dead. Rao, which was an investigative reporter, recalled several details from her time at the crime scene. The journalist explained how the sheer number of shots fired and the isolation of the site specifically stood out to her when she visited.
Wow.
Another excerpt on it is that Alexander was Patrick's boyfriend and Barnes was a friend. Jones said that it is likely more than one person was involved in the killing. It's just a very dynamic scene, Jones said. Some of the shots were fired after the victims were dead. They wanted these people dead, Jones said. So why did they want these people dead? And why did they clear this crime scene? The victims' bodies were found by a neighbor in the forest near Belmont off Forest Road 171. Barnes was found in a trailer at the campsite while Patrick was found outside. On the edge of the campsite, a body of Alexander was face up on pine needles of the forest floor. So they came back to make sure the job was done, and that's very mob-like.
Yeah, that's literally overkill.
Overkill. Yeah. Several people were interviewed.
But in the Manson murders, there's a theory that Manson went back to the scene of the crime to move shit around, leave other clues, and to make sure everyone was dead.
Wouldn't be surprised. So it says several people interviewed soon after the shooting deaths of Richard Barnes, Lynn Patrick, and Michael Alexander, but no solid suspects information developed at the time. Fingerprint and DNA evidence from the October 1999 killings are being analyzed and witnesses are being re-interviewed, but they're saying that they really don't have any information left on this case to go over because when they try to even idealize what the crime scene looked like while they have pictures, none of those trees are there for them to reenact that case. Sheriff's Cold Case Unit Investigator Chuck Jones said there are no leads and the motive isn't known. I have an idea what may have happened, Jones said, but I got to let the evidence take me where it's going. Jones said the case still will be difficult to prove in court, even if suspect information is developed. I think that the idea here is to figure out why they were killed. I'm just absolutely blown away by the fact that that set of murders is 13 miles from where Jack was living at that time and right up his alley. Murder could have been anything, needing money at this point because Jack is now down one probably Social Security income with Nora being dead, and he has to make his moves around. But I do show that then his rent came due and was up as of October of 1999, as it were. Let's see here. Yeah. October 1999, we then see him up and go back to Texas, but then ultimately moves to Oregon. And this right here, I want to now look at these because all of these different murders are unsolved murders during the years that Jack was known to be in or around Arizona. So it makes me now want to look at these particular murders, and that's why they're look at some of these things. I mean, what I got this one. Oh, wait a minute. Where is it? Okay. This particular URL is the Lumberjack on jackcentral.org.
Wow.
This one, 1985, Virgil Hoke was found shot to death in his trailer near Happy Jack.
Wow.
On October 14th. Yeah, a lot of Jack connections there. Anyways, we will pick up in 2000 when we come back. That's where we're going to find Jack in Oregon. We're going to start discussing that. I just don't think it's a coincidence that he happens to be 13 minutes from a triple homicide where heavy gun use was used, and they came back to make sure that the suspects were dead. So on that note,
Yeah.
that is all we have, you guys. Thank you both for being here today. Very intriguing conversation in regards to this whole Iran issue, and I hope to see everybody next Friday. You guys have a great weekend.
Are we going to do a little Black Dahlia stuff next time?
We can, but I think we're going to be
Astro Hotel and that suspect, Mark Hansen.
We can talk about that. I forgot all about that, but we can talk about that. I'll text you after we're done, guys. I'll see y'all later. Take care.
Take care.